Democracy is messy. That's how one person at the mic put it. Last year, this was a humanitarian aid depot. If you're feeling some whiplash from this summer's special session, you're not alone. A Lincoln man is dead and another is in custody. Just moments ago, there was a line folding outside of these doors to the hearing room. That's the facility that was hit by a tornado and absolutely devastated. As you can see behind me, there's debris all around. There were cars that were picked up and thrown over here. 10 miles outside of Chassiv Yar, the skies never sleep. That's because drones are on the prowl. Cole, the day started with an open question as to what a criminal case about fraudulent signatures could mean. I hope you guys didn't have the luck that I had on the roads while reporting this story. Not only did I get stuck in a 1011 car, but the snowplow I was riding along in also got stuck. Yeah, life in most Ukrainian cities is an odd mixture of normalcy and terror. Rain, snow, or shine, ready to respond within minutes. This is the same outfit, almost certainly the same costume, basically, since the beginning, right?
This is the same costume.
Well, the scene behind me at 22nd and Sewell, it's a bit extreme, but there are many like it all around the city, and it's peaceful. They're waving Palestinian flags and calling for a ceasefire. But one longtime fan is concerned that he won't have a view at all, as obstructions on the sidelines of last week's game left a lot to be desired. The Dempster industrial compound, abandoned for years, casts a large shadow over Beatrice. It's a leviathan decomposing at the southern gateway to the city. So leaders are looking for hope in that new grant program to turn these ruins into a green space. Folks with Nebraska Game and Parks say that this model really hits the bullseye. Reading him the words of Utah's conservative governor Spencer Cox, who vetoed a similar bill in 2022. Rarely has so much fear and anger been directed at so few. I don't understand what they are going through or why they feel the way they do, but I want them to live. I asked him why his approach differs. The radio.
It's easy to get burnout with your day-to-day routine.
And the long, lonely stretches of road through Pawnee County's autumn valleys remind Sheriff Braden Lang just how hard his work has become.
It's borderline impossible.
Backed by a paper-thin budget, he leads an overworked crew of 3 deputies, covering the county's law enforcement needs all day, every day.
We work through it. I was sick with COVID twice, and I was still out doing my job because we were essential workers at that point.
Lang says it's been a plight in Nebraska's hinterlands for a while, but recently a number of factors surged together. The problem starts with getting recruits.
A major barrier to getting new law enforcement officers here, no matter what the pay, is you're 50 miles from a Walmart. Your dating possibilities are pretty slim, and there really isn't all that much to do as far as recreation. So unless you really, really like to hunt and fish, you're kind of limited on options.
Nebraska's LB 51, signed into law in 2021, raised the bar to become and remain a deputy, a move many law enforcement leaders hailed. But Lang says it comes with drawbacks.
We went two plus years on the previous go-around without even getting a single viable applicant.
Lang recently scored another hire, giving him the minimum required staff to work with. But then the challenge is keeping them.
All it takes is for your neighboring county to raise pay rates or increase benefits.
Across a population of more than 2,500, violent crimes crop up occasionally.
We had a half-naked drunk guy break into the courthouse and harass court staff and got into a fight with a state trooper, myself.
And the topography of wooded, rolling hills makes isolation all the more palpable.
You get down to the bottom here in Burchard, your radio and your cell phone do not work. So when I say sometimes you're on your own as a single officer, you're on your own. You can't call for help.
Since the ride-along, one of Lang's deputies was injured in a brawl with a suspect, underscoring and compounding the problems further. And if 4 lawmen covering more than 400 square miles of terrain around the clock surprises you, it's worth noting that this isn't just a problem in Pawnee County. It's actually become fairly widespread in rural counties all across the state.
We're probably near a tipping point where we need to have those very frank conversations as to what we want our communities to look like in the future.
John Cannon heads up the Nebraska Association of County Officials, dedicated to educating county leaders and advocating for them. He pointed to a particularly staggering stat in an 8-county swath of land in central Nebraska.
And this is an area that's literally the size of Connecticut, and it has 8 squad cars and 3 dispatch.
It's a similar story for Sheridan County Sheriff Jeff Brewer. He and his 5 deputies have to cover almost 2,500 square miles in northwestern Nebraska.
Just kind of trying to figure out what little fire to put out first, and hopefully you get it put out before it gets bigger.
For now, Sheriff Lang is taking it day by day, narrowly avoiding burnout by focusing on the positives of his role.
There are several people that are alive today because I was the one that got that call.
But who and how many people will answer those calls in the future? Lang says it's anyone's guess. Reporting in Pawnee County, John Grinvalds, 1011 News. As the drone season, or the helmeted airmen, the Russians have scrawled their lines in serpentine patterns across Ukraine's eastern steppe. Concrete teeth stand guard against armored vehicles. But what about the troops that call these dugouts home? I spoke with 3 men who had all been fighting under the Russian flag, all with very different backgrounds. Dennis, a lieutenant, joined up, as he says, for a stable paycheck.
I started from a soldier, from just private. I was a shooter.
Murat, a Kazakh, came in as a young man.
I thought it was logical at that point to join the army. I just tried to make myself useful.
In broken English, Vadir from Sri Lanka tells me his tragic story.
I came to my country account, economic down.
He saw Russia as a land of opportunity, a place to work in seasonal agriculture and send money back home.
Came to Russia, I take the passport, and he say you go into the Russian army 1 year contract.
He says he felt he had no choice in the matter. Facing onslaughts like this. Here, a coarse imitation of the real on a Ukrainian training compound. All 3 men threw their hands up in surrender to Ukrainian soldiers.
We thought this area was under our control, but in reality it was controlled by Ukrainian military.
Dennis and Murat says they were led here by lies.
There is a huge difference between TV and reality. It was a quite surprise for us. In TV there is a fascism, there is a full lawlessness. Obviously, as I saw it with my own eyes, it's completely different.
The real war never makes it onto the screens.
Everything's smooth on TV. Everything organized on TV. Everything get lined up and go by under control.
Soldiers grope for a meaning to the conflict in the field, but surrounded by the wasteland they made, they often come up empty-handed.
There is no condition to even fight. Everybody tired, and there is no really good morals.
So terror rules the Russian trenches, Dennis says.
For one of the punishments, if you drink alcohol, they can put you in a hole in the ground and do some other gruesome stuff and just keep you there for days.
Dennis tells me an even worse fate awaits those who disobey orders.
It is a nightmare. They use you as a meat. Nobody wants to go to the storm brigades, the assault brigades. It's very suicidal idea.
Vadir says he got 2 weeks of training, then sent to the front with a group of similarly confused Sri Lankan and Nepalese people, not knowing where he was or why he was fighting.
Oh no, sir, situation is...
Shrapnel wounded his foot. He says he just misses his family.
My wife, my mother, brothers, sisters, and 3 children.
And urges foreigners to avoid work in Russia. I asked Dennis, as he led men through the war, what he feared most.
A mountain of dead bodies and corpse. I think it's gonna be for the rest of my life. I have to deal with this.
The trauma and pain may never ebb, but as they sit in what they call kind captivity, they dream of life after the war.
Build my house, live with my family, just in peace.
Reporting for 1011.
There is no winners in this war.
I'm John Grinvalds. Skating in a winter wonderland, That's what's happening every night at the rail yard. And it turns out making the spot a family-friendly ice rink is a lot of work.
A rail yard that's not level, so then you have to build a structure that levels the ground, to which then you have a glycol system underneath, to which then you add water, to which then...
And on and on. It's a boon for the historic entertainment district and for one of the main sponsors, the Lincoln Stars hockey team, who came out for a meet and greet tonight.
I don't think too many people here know about hockey, so it's amazing to just grow the game, and like you get to see it, you get to try, you get to put on skates and get a feel for it, and just I think people really enjoy it.
And seeing those smiling faces, I wanted to get a feel for it too. So I signed the waiver, got a pair of skates, and hit the ice.
Feeling good.
It wasn't a walk in the park at first, as I teetered and tottered and hugged the wall.
What am I supposed to do?
Thankfully, Kai, captain of the Stars, was on standby, all but holding my hand.
So pizza and French fry. I need to do some pizza and French fry.
Okay, now we're getting the hang of it.
So what I've learned so far is that it's all about the center of gravity and your balance. It's a lot like skiing, Kai tells me, and the movement is more side to side than front to back.
Kids were still whizzing past me as I moved like a mummy, but after a few more laps and with some help from Braylon and Blake.
My dad's friend told me to put all your weight on like the balls of your feet and then go in a V shape like that. So I've been trying, practicing doing that.
One more time around, and I started to glide a little more confidently across the rink.
So while I won't be going to the Olympics anytime soon, at least I survived a night at the rail yard rink. Reporting in Lincoln, John Grinvalds, 1011 News.
I wish we could do more to help.
There are no lessons here, no patterns in the shattered glass. As Moknenko mourns another year of war ministry, he says far too many have suffered for us to look away.
I understood people who just watch TV and say, oh, more terrible story from Ukraine. I will change the channel for humor, for movie. I wanna push the button and change my life, but it's not possible. It's not TV.
Circling a tree with the others. This modern war, so far from romanticized heroics, leaves men trembling beneath canopies. We move out of the city. Our phones ping. News alerts tell us what from a hilltop we can see with our own eyes. Smoke columns rising from the city. Missile attacks. We rush through traffic and pull up to an apartment complex coursing with chaos.
Well, I definitely can feel where my heart is.
But first, it's the same sight as last night. Thick layers of fog creep across large chunks of the state. It's our top story on 1011 News at 10. A Merry Christmas to our extended audience across Nebraska and to those in the capital city. And it's a place in southeast Nebraska best known for a different holiday. Seward is the state's 4th of July city. But this year, at least, it seems the community is trying to make its mark on the Christmas season too, making it sparkle brightly. Snowball fight in Central Park, that is incredible. But I gotta tell you, I would not want to be caught in that crossfire. It's made of snow, but some of those have got to be packing some heat.
Very powerful, I'm sure. I wish we could have, done what here, but no snow. Maybe next year.
Thank you, Kendall. David's back next with a final check at weather.